When the sun comes up on America, across open fields, small towns, and city streets, a new day begins. And here, we rise with it. This is where hard work meets headlines, where truth matters, and America wakes up informed.
An interesting week.
They all are.
This is your country. This is your morning. This is Daybreak with Steve and Ivy Gruber. America, let's do it together.
Love you, Ivy.
Love you too.
And it starts right now.
All right, let's get into it on a Thursday. Nice to see you here, fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom as we do every single day. Here are three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, the Secret Service says the threat level to its protectorates, including President Trump, is at the highest level they've ever seen. That is the result of vile rhetoric from the left that is constantly coming 24 hours a day. Think about it. Number two, the House finally able to pass the National Defense Authorization Act, something that usually sails through easily, but was held up by politics for about the first time ever. And number three, Democrats will tell you the sky is green while they stand right beneath it and expect you to believe them, because that's exactly what's happening with voter fraud and the Democrat Party's reaction to it. In New Jersey, Governor Mikey Sherrill just announced that almost 7,000 non-citizens were registered to vote in her state back in 2023. She says it was due to a software glitch. The company in charge says that's bogus. Guess who was governor in 2023? Phil Murphy, who turned the state into a sanctuary state and had this to say about voter fraud. Compare this to Sherrill's most recent announcement. Roll it.
Tell the truth. I mean, the chances of voter fraud, and this is true, uncovering voter fraud is less than the chances you'd get hit by lightning. It barely exists in terms of voter fraud. Now, does that mean that there aren't situations that come up that our folks deal with? Yes, but it's a de minimis frequency. It just doesn't happen. Our elections are safe and secure, and we're going to make sure we keep them that way.
In June of 2023, nearly 3 years before I became governor, a serious software error in New Jersey's motor vehicle system led to the improper voter registration of what we believe to be roughly 6,600 people in our state. When New Jerseyans applied for a driver's license or identification at the MVC, they were asked if they wanted to register to vote. In the case of this error, some individuals indicated that they weren't citizens and weren't eligible to vote, but the software registered them anyway.
But just so you know, again, the tech company that Sherrill is trying to cast blame on has denied there was any glitch. They said the responsibility lies solely on the shoulders of the state of New Jersey. Sherrill doesn't intend to take any responsibility, though, believe it, because this is the exact same speech about finding 6,600 non-citizens on her voter rolls. This is what she had to say about Donald Trump, the guy who's trying to secure our elections now that he has secured our borders. Here she is again.
I am ensuring that we protect our elections. Let me be clear. Donald Trump has zero credibility on the issue of election integrity. For the past 10 years, he's cried wolf and peddled bizarre conspiracy theories about fraud with no evidence. I saw the consequences of Trump's lies on January 6th. I was in the Capitol when he and his followers tried to steal the election and put the lives of hundreds of members of our law enforcement at risk. Trump could care less about the actual integrity of the process. His only concern is himself.
You can't make this stuff up, cried wolf. On Thursday night of last week, she made fun of President Trump during his speech about election integrity. In one speech, she went from laying out evidence for voter fraud to blasting Donald Trump for calling attention to the conspiracy of voter fraud that exists in her state. She wants you to believe the sky is green. Trump says the number is actually much, much higher. According to the Department of Homeland Security, there's at least 35,000, not 6,600, 35,000 non-citizens registered to vote just in the state of New Jersey. Trump says, and I quote, "These are just the ones that got caught. The real numbers will prove to be many times this amount." And he's calling on Republicans to do their job and pass the Save America Act. The 35,000 number isn't hard to swallow, considering DHS Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen told us last week that more than 250,000 non-citizens were found registered to vote in just 4 states, New Jersey being one of them, but now that number must increase. In that same speech, Mullen also swore to hold election officials accountable. Here's what he said.
But the states have to do their part. I will tell you, if the states that choose not to participate with the state program and they choose not to participate in securing the elections, we will make sure that we make those states a priority to look at who voted in their states and hold then the election officials accountable. If the election officials, once we gave them the information they need to secure their elections, and they chose not to, then those individuals can also be held accountable by fines, by penalties, and even, depending on how far it goes, prison time.
Prison time. Now, if you ask me, that's why Governor Sherrill decided to come forward now with this information. She will continue to attack President Trump, and he's tough. He can take it. But she also doesn't want to run into Secretary Mullen or the arm of the law. That's what the beauty of all of this is. It's making an issue out of it. Donald Trump forcing the spotlight onto the cockroaches. He's forcing the Democrats to come clean in some kind of measure about an issue that has always existed and they have always denied, at least recently. Because this is the talking point that we consistently get from Democrats time and time and time again. Listen.
There is no evidence that undocumented migrants vote.
We're debating a problem that does not exist.
This is a solution in search of a problem that does not exist.
The evidence is almost no illegal immigrants vote. Some benign effort to tell the small number of illegal immigrants.
The reports show voter fraud is exceedingly rare, but there's a couple things we know about the administration.
Citizen voting in federal elections is already illegal.
There is no evidence of fraud or corruption.
All because we don't have a problem with illegal aliens voting in the country.
It's not an issue that you have undocumented people in mass numbers voting. You know.
Very, very rare instances, but then just make the bill workable. But
absolutely vanishingly rare.
There's no evidence that non-citizens are voting.
There's plenty of evidence, and plenty more where that came from, by the way. But Mikey Sherrill's announcement proves that's not true what they're saying. And the consequences, jail time, fines, real consequences outlined by Mullen might force more Democrats to come clean about their voter rolls. I wouldn't hold my breath for that one, though. Instead, what we're hearing from Democrats is what Abby Phillips over at CNN is resorting to, which is to say, so what? Listen real quick.
6,600 non-citizens made it onto the voter rolls. That's okay. To me, is pretty widespread voter fraud.
That's widespread?
Yeah, I think it'd be pretty bad if one person who's not a legal citizen in the United States.
The number of registered voters in the state?
New Jersey spends $60 billion over that overall on its budget. So I think if we're seeing...
Yeah, but I mean, you just said it's widespread. So where's the proof that it's widespread?
6,600 non-citizens made it onto the voter rolls.
That is 0.006%.
See, first they say there are no non-citizens voting. It's already illegal. Doesn't happen. Zero tolerance. That's the attitude every American needs to have toward this issue. It's the attitude we have here at Daybreak. None. I'll be back. Look, Americans are not okay with any non-citizens being registered to vote. And to see that it went from 6,600 to over 35,000. Right after Mark Wayne Mullen said, you will be held accountable. You will face consequences. And 250,000 over just 4 states, all blue states, mind you. The SAVE Act is non-negotiable. We need citizen requirements. Now is a good time to remind you that 19 states offer driver's licenses to illegal aliens, and 15 of those automatically register them to vote when they get their license. So like I said, we need citizen requirements. You must be a citizen to vote. California is perhaps the worst when it comes to securing its elections. Its leaders are insisting on continuing the pattern. Here is Congressman Gil Cisneros. Listen.
I want to ask you about voter ID. So this is showing a picture ID in order to cast a ballot. There are 38 states that require that anyway. California, your state, is not one of those. Would you be in favor of forcing California to ask for a voter ID?
No, I think our voting system in California, now look, it does take a long time to count votes in California, but that's because we want to get it right.
Yeah, California doesn't want voter ID, Democrats anyway, because the Democrat Party needs to keep its golden state throne, even at the expense of what the actual people want and vote for. And it's not just Congressman Cisneros that isn't going to vote for the SAVE Act. It's that his home state is intentionally sabotaging the chances of voter ID being passed by its own citizens. Listen to gubernatorial candidate Steve Hilton expose all of it.
Voter ID, supported by around 70% of Californians. They are so terrified of it that they have now changed the actual words that will appear on the ballot in order to try and put people off from voting for it. Here's the original title. Establishes additional voter identification and citizenship verification requirements. That's an accurate description of the voter ID initiative. Here's what they've changed it to. Prohibits citizens from voting unless they present government-issued identification. Invalidates mail ballots that do not have last 4 digits of designated government-issued identification number. It's so laughably corrupt and insane. This is like a ballot initiative that would have required, I don't know, driver licenses in order to drive, and they changed it to prohibits driving without a driver license. These people are a joke. We are going to get voter ID passed. There's a clear majority in favor of it, despite these corrupt shenanigans, and we are going to kick this corrupt machine out of power this year because we've had enough of all this.
It is deceitful. It is slimy. And it might not even matter if the state intends on letting a bunch of illegal aliens vote on the measure anyway. Now is the time for change. Donald Trump has tightened the screws as much as he can. It has the Democrat Party in a panic. If we don't right the ship now, they'll run away with it, and then they'll end up sinking it. Here's my friend John Solomon explaining the situation quite clearly.
I think the reason why the Democrats lost their mind on Thursday night with the president's very specific, very detailed, and by the way, fully vetted by all 5 of the intelligence agencies' speech. All 5 of the intelligence agencies checked every word, is that the 3 heels of their strategy is starting to fall apart. They like to get non-citizens on the voter rolls. They like to have dirty voter rolls. They proved that by fighting to keep them dirty. 2, they've known for some time, they were bragging about it and raising concerns in 19, then they let it go, that our election machines have vulnerabilities that a foreign power hasn't yet, but could exploit. And then 3rd, they do not like any sense of hardening the system. They want to keep the system soft and mushy, and Donald Trump is threatening that by pushing the Save America Act.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, Democrats will keep telling you the sky is green while standing in the pouring rain, expecting you to ignore the evidence right in front of your eyes, but the American people aren't buying it anymore. From New Jersey's 6,600 non-citizen registrations and the true DHS figure of more than 35,000 to more than 250,000 across just 4 blue states, the fraud is now undeniable. Governor Cheryl can blame glitches, vendors, or Trump all she wants, but the pattern, it's crystal clear. Democrats build systems that invite illegal voting, then deny the problem exists, and for very good reason. It helps keep them in power. Enough. President Trump is forcing the issue because every non-citizen vote cancels out the vote of an American citizen like you or me. We need zero tolerance on this nonsense. No more automatic registration tied to driver's licenses for illegals. And no more excuses. Republicans, figure it out. Mike Lee thinks he might have a path now, but you must figure out how to pass the Save America Act right now. Require proof of citizenship. Clean up the rules. Hold negligent officials accountable, up to and including prison time. Look, it's not a conspiracy theory. It is a crisis of election integrity, and it's been there for a number of years. The Democrats' denial ends now. The America First crowd is watching. The DOJ is watching. And the American people, the folks, demand fair, secure elections. And look, our republic depends on it. It does. The future does. Time to secure our vote, secure the future, and make America great again. Look, it's time for action right now. Time for urgency. I don't care if my candidate loses an election, as long as it's fair, as long as somebody isn't cheating to get it done. I can live with that. I can live with that. I cannot live with people cheating. I cannot live with non-citizens voting to perpetuate that cheat. And I will sit here and voice this every single day until we get it done. I hope Senator Mike Lee of Utah is right and that he's got it dialed in. Time will tell. This part of the program brought to you by PuroClean's Veterans Initiative, PuroVet program, empowering veterans through franchise ownership in a $210 billion restoration industry. If you're a veteran, if you know somebody who is, this is the phone call to make today, 855-PuroVet, or get online at purovet.com. Find out what's available to you as a veteran. Start your own business. Build your community. I'll take a break and be right back. This is Daybreak. This really isn't a surprise. I mentioned it at the top of the program, but the threat environment, according to the Secret Service, is the highest they have ever seen. And why wouldn't that be? You've got left-wing politicians and agitators and their compatriots in the media out there pounding the drum every day. Trump is dangerous. He's a fascist. ICE must be stopped. Police must be defunded. We saw this guy at 29 Federal Plaza dump gasoline and incendiary devices and light it on fire just a couple of days ago with his anti-ICE paraphernalia all over the place, yelling at the police when he was arrested. You've got all of these people being ginned up by a constant diet of hate America, hate the police, hate the politicians. Well, hate the Republicans anyway, and hate Donald Trump. And so the threat environment is worse than ever. What we're seeing now is something I've never seen before, said the senior official who spoke to reporters on background. And that threat is beyond Donald Trump. It extends to Supreme Court justices, members of Congress, even their staff. It's remarkable what a bunch of horrible rhetoric will do. Now, everyone knows the next medical crisis is just around the corner, whether it comes in the form of a crippling winter storm or a pandemic or something worse or something much more mundane like a tick bite. You and your family need to be prepared no matter what happens, and that's where the Wellness Company steps in. The Wellness Company and its doctors like Dr. Peter McCullough are here on a regular basis. The Wellness Company and its doctors are medical professionals that you can trust. Their line of prescription medical kits are the gold standard when it comes to keeping you and your family safe and healthy. Whether it's the medical emergency kit, the contagion kit, the first aid kit, or the travel kit, these prescription kits contain an assortment of life-saving medications and guidebooks so you know what to do when you get sick, like if you eat the bad lettuce that's running around. There's something you can do about it right on your shelf, and getting ahead of illness, so important. Early intervention prevents long-term illness or worse. Go to twc.health/Gruber today and order. Put it on your shelf. It's on my shelf. It should be on yours. twc.health/Gruber. Use the promo code Gruber. You're going to save 10% and have peace of mind. When I come back, Susan Kokinda will join me right here on Daybreak. All right, my next guest is one of my favorites, to say the least, because she is so well educated and so up on everything that's in action right now, and she keeps track of everything that goes back and connects the dots as well as anyone we've ever had on the program. Susan Kokinda, author, organizer with Promethean Action. Susan, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Yes, nice to have you. In fact, Susan is featured on our next episode of Forgotten America, the podcast. I'll tell you more about that in a moment because we have a chance to talk to her for a lot longer than a few minutes. All right, Trump versus Carney. Mark Carney, you know, I thought that Canada had problems under Trudeau, which they did. This guy is far worse. He had 3 citizenship. He was a citizen of 3 countries when he showed up. He now says he wants to align himself with the EU and forget about America. I mean, Carney's going all globalist on us, isn't he?
Well, he's not going all globalist. He is the globalist poster boy. Remember, he is the first person to ever serve both as the head of the Bank of Canada and the head of the Bank of England. Nobody has ever held both of those portfolios. And he really is the face of what I call globalism 2.0. Because now that Donald Trump is back in the saddle, and especially in this second term, is going full bore with implementing the full range of American economic sovereignty policies, and in particular, in economics, restoring the American system with tariffs, with support for industrial development, with making the United States a manufacturing superpower. The global elite are looking at the United States and saying, oops, our game plan, they used to call it the special relationship with Great Britain, but it's basically our game plan of manipulating the United States, getting them to adopt globalist policies and acting as our policemen. That's over. And we're going to have to come up with globalism 2.0. And that's Mark Carney. Mark Carney makes no bones about the fact that we are not going back to that previous relationship. The globalists are not going to be able to manipulate the United States as long as Donald Trump is in there. And so he's trying to put together, both domestically and internationally, some kind of combination of forces that can at least get in Donald Trump's way. I think their plan is to try and outlast Trump, jam up his policies here in the United States as much as possible, put together a combination of countries. They call it the middle powers. It's kind of like out of the Middle Kingdom, if you ask me.
Right.
But you know, put together a combination of countries. But they have a problem because their economies are still collapsing under green policies, open borders, free trade, and our economy is on the verge of an incredible takeoff. So he has been given a new portfolio. As long as Trump is able to keep going with his policies, and I think Trump supporters understand what Trump is doing and don't get all weak-kneed, then Mark Carney's not going to pull anything off.
Well, I think you're right. The president's imposing tariffs on Canada and saying, look, we're not going to play this game. And while Canada's importing, 70,000 Chinese EVs, which are basically spy vehicles, Trump said, we're not bringing any of those into the United States, as an easy example of what's happening. None of this. And Carney says, bring it all in while their borders remain open, while their country arrests preachers for talking out of the Bible, while they go after people's bank accounts. I mean, Canada has gone full-blown authoritarian state. I mean, what happened to our little brother?
Well, it's been a problem for a while. You know, I will note that Jameson Greer, our trade ambassador, he made the point yesterday talking about these new round of tariffs that the president has implemented against Canada, that when the president began using the tariff weapon a year ago, last April, only 2 countries retaliated against us: China, which shouldn't be a surprise, and Canada. They're essentially a hostile force north of our border. But I think it's important to understand that what Carney is doing is not for the benefit of Canada. I think we're just seeing Carney as now the chief operating engineer of globalism. And I don't think they care what happens to Canada per se, just like I don't think Keir Starmer cared all that much about what was happening to the UK. They're simply the command headquarters for a globalist system, and the globalist system's primary mission right now is to try and stop Donald Trump, which is why Carney has brought an American political operative, a woman named Maya Johnson, into his office right out of the Hillary Clinton, Michael Bloomberg networks.
So he answers to the oligarchs, not to the people. And that's what they want. It's about power control and ultimately about a lot of money, controlling the financial systems. That's what you argue, correct?
Yeah, it's controlling the financial systems and making sure that nations are weak and stupid so that they stay within this imperial system and do stupid things like we did by adopting NAFTA, which gutted our working class and our middle class when the jobs went overseas. Nobody held a gun to our head. We just got stupider and stupider because we listened to the ideologies from these people. We listened to the ideology that, oh, well, the only thing that counts is getting it cheaper. And so Americans bought in, especially our policy elite, to free trade, which goes back to a British policy. There was just a seminar at the Chatham House in London where one of the panelists made the point, in the 19th century, if you said you were for free trade, you were accused of being a British agent because people knew it was free trade versus the American system. So again, as I said, Donald Trump has come back and along with his team is reviving the American system of free trade. And that is what is really challenging this global financier elite, because if nations come back to their senses and say, no, we're not going to follow your rules. We're going to produce, we're going to build, we're going to become strong economically. We're going to create the kind of jobs where one income can raise a family, which used to be the hallmark of the United States. Well, then this financier elite is sitting out there saying we're about to be outclassed. So they're scrambling right now to figure out how to put the United States back in the box.
Good luck.
And yeah, good luck.
I mean, honestly, you look at the EU, it's roughly the same size as the United States when it comes to population. You add in Canada, it's a little bit bigger, but their economy is far smaller than the United States. They should be bigger than we are. But because of socialist policies and globalist policies, they don't grow. They feed the welfare state. We grow, we build, we innovate, even today. Susan, I got about 30 seconds. Last word to you.
Well, I think the important thing is for people to understand that the president is carrying out an economic revolution, bringing the jobs back, bringing the factories back. Now, the challenge we face is it takes a little while to build a factory, so you might not feel it, maybe not even in time for the midterm elections, but people have to understand what he's doing because it's transformative and it's revolutionary.
And it takes time. You can follow Susan on Promethean Action. Find her on X. She does daily updates. She does weekly updates. Absolutely fascinating and informative. It's like having a professor at your fingertips. And Susan, we appreciate you being here. And I should say this, coming up Monday, a brand new edition of Forgotten America. Susan and Ivy and I sit and talked for more than an hour about voter fraud, about the economy, about the globalists. You don't want to miss it. Susan, always a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
And you can find that on YouTube, by the way. You can become a subscriber for free and listen to the whole conversation. It's always an education with Susan Kokinda. You don't want to miss it. Mark it down. Comes out 9 o'clock Friday morning. The QR code right there on your screen. There's 25 other episodes you can check out while the new one gets ready to drop. I'll be right back. All right, so here's an interesting case I want to talk to you about. The headline is the town bans Bible studies in a family home and threatens fines if they continue to hold Bible studies in their private home. It's a case with some big implications, and I wanted to talk about it with David Coleman, senior partner at the Coleman Legal Group. He joins me now. David, good morning.
Good morning, Steve.
So give the folks the background on this case. What happened? What is the issue?
Well, this is actually happening all around the country, Steve. There's been a number of cases, San Diego, another town in California, here in Pennsylvania. I actually had a case right here in Lansing, Michigan, in Delta Township with this issue a number of years ago, where people are holding Bible studies in their home and the township comes in or the local government comes in and says, you can't do that because you're not zoned to be a church. I mean, it's just an outrageous attempt to squelch free exercise of religion, First Amendment rights, free speech rights, freedom of assembly. I mean, pick your poison here. There's so many violations of constitutional rights. It's kind of breathtaking in a way.
How many
that's
people,
what's going
David,
on here.
What does it take to cross the threshold of being a Bible study in your home with friends to being a church? Is it 10? Is it 20? Well, I mean, what's the number? What's the threshold?
Yeah, there really is no number, but it's, I think everybody kind of understands what a church or a synagogue or a mosque is. People come on Sundays, they come on Saturday, whatever their faith practices are. They come every day for mass, different things. That's not what this is. People getting together once a week in their home and having a Bible study, even if it is 15, 20 people, whatever. You're entitled to do that in your own home. If you open up the Bible and sing a song or say a prayer. In fact, Stephen, one of the cases, the township officials literally were asking the folks, do you guys say amen? Do you praise the Lord? Do you actually pray in this service? Oh, well, then you're a church. I mean, it's just outrageous. It's ridiculous.
The suit says that the property, quote, has been used for many decades to host religious activities such as seminary picnics, seminary board meetings, Pittsburgh Institute for Youth Ministry, Bible studies, fundraisers for pastors and churches, Billy Graham Foundation meetings, and many more religious activities. So at what point do you go from being a private home to being a church? I mean, I get zoning ordinances, and if there's 50 cars choking the street, okay, I can see where the neighbors are like, hey, man, what's going on? But there's also the First Amendment consideration. There has to be, I mean, to me, David, just looking at this, there has to be a threshold of some sort. But you're telling me it's a patchwork, a hodgepodge. There is no real definition in most places. Right. So where is this case going right now?
Well, most of these cases, they back off. Like the case I had here in Lansing, the officials, once I called a few people and said, hey, we're going to federal court, you can't do this, they backed off and let the people hold their Bible study. That has happened in California also, where they back off. One of the cities, though, in California said, well, okay, this is a Bible study, we'll let you do it. But if you start doing more than that, we're still going to enforce our ordinance. Well, what is more than that? I mean, who knows? And that's where you're probably going to end up having at some point litigation. And this case could be a test case because they do more. This is kind of a farm setting. They have a big barn. People come in. They don't hold regular worship services weekly, that sort of thing, but they hold events. Like you mentioned, the Billy Graham Association, concerts, things like that. But it's on a farm. You're not in a neighborhood where, like you said, you have 50 cars choking the neighborhood, right, or it gets real loud or something like that. This is out in the country on a farm. So I don't know. I mean, this might be the test that might set this might be the case that could set some parameters.
It sounds like it. Sewickley Heights continues to threaten the Federals, that's the family, with fines of $500 a day, plus court costs, including the borough's attorney's fees, for having Bible studies at their home, having meetings where religious songs are sung. We'll have none of that. Conducting any religious retreats for church leaders or seminary students for prayer or for camaraderie building fellowship time, and conducting any religious fundraisers. Now, if I wanted to have people over to my house to raise money for the local Little League, am I getting threatened $500 a day? I mean, serious question. Probably not, right?
Of course not. Or you want to hold a school function, like your PTA, and you're going to support your local public school. Or, think of a dozen different things. You just want to have a kegger at your house. I mean, nobody's going to come to your house and say you can't do it. All right. But if it's religious, oh my goodness, with the power has to come down. The township has to act. It's silliness, but it does show the change in mindset, Steve. And
Yeah.
there's so many other issues here that we could get into. What about if it's happening in the street and it is blocking a street? We've heard stories of different religious faiths praying in the middle of streets and blocking traffic.
Yeah.
Clearly,
What faith
you
does
can't do
that,
sort of
David?
thing.
What faith
I'm
blocks
sorry?
streets in New York City and clogs traffic and creates roadblocks? Who does that again?
Well, it's typically the Muslim folks that are doing that, praying 5 times a day. And if you block a street and block traffic, no, that is going way too far. You're not in your home anymore. You're doing it out and interfering with everybody's daily activities. You can't do that.
Right, but if you're out, but nobody enforces that, by the way.
Well,
to
they
speak
should.
of, well, they should, but they don't. It's New York. But if you're on your farm, and look, no disrespect intended, but if the Irish Catholics got together and have a Bible study and a kegger at the same time, we no disrespect, just having fun, folks. The point being is you can have any gathering at all. I don't get it. Anyhow, what do you think happens in this case? We got about 20 seconds.
Oh, I think the folks will prevail. You have your First Amendment constitutional rights here. They're not operating a church, as the courts have defined it. So they're going to prevail in this case.
David Coleman, we'll keep an eye on this case. Of course, bring us an update when you see something change in this matter. As always, nice to see you, my friend.
Always great to be with you, Steve. Thanks.
David Coleman, senior partner, Coleman Legal Group, Lansing, Michigan. If you've got a constitutional issue, that's a great person to talk to, David Coleman. I'll take a break and be right back. All right, so again, coming up Monday at 9 a.m. on Forgotten America. It'll drop on YouTube. It's Ivy and I with Susan Kokinda, who was just here with us. If you've never heard her before, she is brilliant. A person who connects the dots and does her homework and has historical references that just flow. Promethean action. I want to give you a little preview of what's going to happen and the growing influence of globalists coming out of London. Listen.
I think J.D. Vance is doing is extremely important by launching this debate in terms of what is an American economic policy. Is it Alexander Hamilton, which J.D. Vance agrees with, where you protect your sovereignty and your producers from these supranational entities? Or is it the magic of the markets, which is really just a cover story for these global financier elite to run everything? And I think that's a really great debate that's breaking out in the Republican Party, and I can't wait to see it continue. Because that's where it finally becomes clear. It's not just this world of big government versus the markets. No, you've got a supranational financier elite. It is a modern day British imperial system, and you've got sovereign nations. That's the fight in the world. And I think that's becoming clearer for people.
I think it is. You can find it Monday morning, 9 a.m. We've got a couple dozen other episodes right there for you to enjoy while you're in the car, while you're at home, while you're doing whatever you are. You can learn something. It's a fascinating conversation that connects history, economics, geopolitics, and she can do it in a way that pretty much nobody else can that I've had on here. Again, it drops Monday morning, 9 a.m. Forgotten America. Just search Steve Gruber on YouTube. Become a subscriber for free. You can do that right now, by the way. The show also streams on YouTube every day. You don't want to miss an episode. Never miss a minute because you miss a lot. Susan Kokinda coming up on Monday. Always appreciate my conversations with her, as you will as well. All right, coming up on the next hour, Jimmy Petronas will be here from Florida's 1st Congressional District. We'll talk to him about the Save America Act, the Insider Trading Act, the National Defense Authorization Act, and so much more that's happened in the last 24 hours. Coming up on Daybreak.
America's awake, and we're just getting started. The headlines that matter, the stories they won't tell you, and the voices fighting to be heard. This is your country, your morning, your daybreak with Steve and Ivy Gruber. A new hour starts right now on Real America's Voice.
All right, let's jump right in. Three big things this hour to get started on Daybreak. Number one, in Wisconsin, another fire drill for the Democrats. They're scrambling after new polling shows an unknown socialist is leading the Democratic field to become the party's nominee to be governor in that state. Well, let's hope, because Congressman Tom Tiffany is sailing through for the GOP. He'll be the next governor, and a good one. Number two, one of the Democrats' wish list items is packing the Supreme Court. Now they have introduced another half-baked idea, term limits that would likely be struck down by, you guessed it, the Supreme Court. And number three, here we come to the game day decision, breaking news, side stories, or more from the circus. Ivy, good morning.
Good morning.
Nice to see you.
Isn't it always a circus out there?
It so is. I want to share one comment with you from President Trump. He was in Marietta, Georgia yesterday, where he talked about a lot of things, including the economy and voter fraud, but he took aim at the radical rise of communism in America. Listen to this.
Communism is, in my opinion, communism is the single greatest threat to our country and its history, including even World War I and World War II, Pearl Harbor, 9/11. I think it's the greatest threat that I've ever seen to our country. These people are stone cold crazy. And it is the enemy of the free people everywhere and everywhere in the world. You see it happening, and every time it starts to happen, the areas where it's at, whether it's blue states, you see the blue states are all going bad. They're all going bad because communism is a loser. The concept, the policy, it's a loser, and it always has been, and it always will be.
And there you have it. The crowd loved it. But we see this all over the place, Ivy. I mean, we thought it was New York City isolated, but then it jumps to Seattle, and then it jumps to Denver, and now the socialist rising in Wisconsin, leading the pack of Democrats, and the Democrats are like, who is this? Right?
Right. I think these people are called democratic socialists, and the reality is that they're communists. But if you look back in history, Steve, is this something that kind of ebb and flows with time? You feel like, there'll be this really big rise of interest in socialism, and then it comes back down, and then it rises? Or is this, in your opinion, since the time that you can recall, the most
it's a bigger wave
impacted that we have been in this country by potential communists running it?
Well, Wisconsin's an interesting case study. I'll start there, because they had a socialist senator and governor, but it was 100 years ago, right? And so that state has had this, this ecosystem that allowed that to grow there. But you look at New York City. New York City's always been a place where people come and work hard and build stuff and become something. They didn't sit there on the couch. The Italian immigrants, the German immigrants, the immigrants from wherever came through Ellis Island, they didn't come into New York City and say, hey, give me some free stuff, because they'd have been tossed out. And in fact, you couldn't even come into the country if you're going to end up on some sort of handout. They wouldn't even let you in the country back then. Now, got all these people coming in, milking the system, defrauding the system through daycares and autism centers and home health care and all the scams that we've seen.
Right.
I think it's very concerning. Look, this is my warning, and I'm glad you asked the question. Yes, we can sit there and laugh about it and say, well, that's good, because if this woman gets the nomination in Wisconsin, Tom Tiffany will likely become the governor. That's all true. But this doesn't go away. And in fact, I saw Ted Cruz yesterday say he thinks Mamdani will unseat Chuck Schumer.
It could become the next senator.
Yeah.
I saw that too. I think that it's like a disease that is a slow trickle.
Yeah.
And it will grow and grow and grow unless it's dealt with, unless you educate people. But why do you think that people are, interested or are in this flirtatious, I think we should be a communist country? Is it that they lack hope is that they lack opportunity.
They lack
don't see
education.
the American dream as possible. They don't have a sense of identity. Maybe that's I just
I
hit
think
on
they
the
lack
head right
education.
there. Is there a lack of American identity in this country?
Yeah, that's
And
part of it.
And what it is to be an American.
Yeah, that's part of it. And here's why. Our school systems have taught these kids for 25 or 35 years now that America's a bad place based on slavery and this and that. They don't teach the evils of Chairman Mao or Comrade Stalin. You know, Hassan Piker, this vile individual that's out there campaigning for Democrats, saying that Mao was one of the greatest people in world history. Mao was the greatest mass murderer in the history of the world. Maybe as many as 100 million people died as a result of him directly and his policies.
Right.
The Great Leap Forward killed millions of people in the late 1950s.
Yeah.
And, you know, so instead, and when I was in school, we got taught about Mao and Stalin and Western civilization. They don't do that now. Because I ask kids, what can you tell me about the Great Leap Forward? The what? They don't know.
Sure.
We're failing them. We are failing our country by allowing these government-run schools to teach crap. I mean, they're more interested in pronouns and bathroom-going habits than they are about reading, writing, and arithmetic.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a sad thing, and I think I do see a shift a bit in some younger people. I know our son and his peers seem to be very patriotic, but not so much as in our daughter's peers. That was probably 7 years earlier. She was going through high school and whatnot, and so
but they've shifted to the right, many of those.
But yes, exactly, they were kind of in that boat, and now they are also shifting. So, you know, the Gen X.
Gen X, Gen Z, I get them confused.
Whatever the other generations are.
Whatever, yeah.
But I think there is hope. And I think with a strong economy, with opportunity, I think the 250th anniversary has reignited a bit of love and patriotism in this country, which you and I have loved this country dearly. So we don't have that particular issue. But just remembering, hey, this is an incredible place. And if you don't think so, go and drive around and see how great America is. Or maybe get out of this country and see how other people live, like in countries like Costa Rica or Guatemala or some of these third world countries that are people still live in, tin boxes.
They do.
And don't have running water and don't have access to food and et cetera, et cetera. Or India, where you have a tremendous amount of people who are complete, like slums of millions of people who are completely poor. But before we run out of time, I want to switch gears here. I don't know if you saw this, but the U.S. House passed the Stop Insider Trading Act.
I did.
Marking the first time either chamber of Congress has approved legislation that would signify restricting stock trading by members of Congress. I think this is great. I don't know what happens with it in the Senate.
But in fact, the Senate is probably going to strengthen it because right now it says members of Congress and their families, the Senate wants to add the president, vice president, their families from owning or trading individual stocks. You can't even own them, so we'll see where that goes.
Well, the thing is, you can already own them, but you can't buy them while you're serving, and you have to give a 7-day notice in advance before selling. Those are some of the things.
I think those are good steps. I mean, it's outrageous to the American people that people go to Congress and they're worth 50 cents and they come out and they're worth millions of dollars. It's outrageous.
It definitely is a head scratcher, isn't it, Steve?
It is a head. Well. Did they go to Congress to help the people or to help themselves to more free stuff? Anyhow, Ivy, love you.
Love you too.
She'll be back a little bit later. I'll be right back after this. All right, summertime means a lot of great things. It means getting outside. It means enjoying the weather. It means enjoying, a nice iced tea. Why not? It's a summer thing. Well, for some people, it's a year-round thing, but iced tea. Mike Britton is the co-founder of Artillery Tea. He's joining me here today to talk about his great company and his great products. Mike, welcome back to the program.
Hey, thanks, Steve. Good to see you again.
Nice to see you, my friend. And I love you because you're the American dream, going out, rolling up your sleeves and taking a chance on creating a new company and new series of products. You got a brand new iced tea starter kit. So how does it help people discover flavors they'll actually love without wasting money on maybe ones they don't?
Yeah, so we put together this kit, Steve, because of course it's summertime, right? It's iced tea season. And a lot of people look at like sachets and whole leaf teas like ours, and iced tea doesn't really, fit that. But it absolutely does with our products. So as you know, we use whole leaves, we use clean sachets, no glue, no all organic ingredients, all that. And so it does brew a little different though, right? And so we put together this kit where we have 5 sample packs or 30 servings total, 30 cups total of different kinds of tea that we think would make excellent iced teas. We have, a standard Southern sweet tea that we think would be great. The Gadsden green pictured here is a peach apricot green tea. We have our brand new Minuteman mango pineapple black tea, and a few others too. And what we did with this kit is we put a custom sticker in there too that you can't get anywhere else, but also we put a little index card in there that has cold brewing instructions. There's basically 2 ways that you can quickly and easily brew iced tea using our product. And we have all the instructions on this little index card in there. So it's everything you need to get started, everything you need to experience iced tea in a way that I don't think anyone ever has before with our product, with our teas, with our flavors that you can't get anywhere else.
I don't know if I did it right. I've made iced tea a million times in my life. In the summer, I would take a glass jar, throw in some bags, and let it sit for a while. I don't know if that's right or wrong. It seemed to work okay, but it never tasted like the stuff I would get from a great company like yours. Why is that?
Well, it's because of the tea that we use. So we usually in grocery stores, you get actually the lowest grade of tea that you can get. And we use the highest grade of tea you can get, right? So picture this, picture like a conveyor belt with whole leaf, the real tea plants going up the conveyor belt and the little dust particles that fall through the cracks. Those dust particles called tea dust or tea phenols, that's what you actually get in your grocery store tea bags. It's overly bitter. It's just fine little particles. You don't really experience the true flavor of the actual tea leaf. And so we use the stuff that goes all the way up the conveyor belt, right? And so we use the highest graded tea leaves we can get, all organic ingredients, and it's just a different tea experience. I think if you think you've tried tea, but you normally go with a Lipton or a Yogi or whatever mass market grocery store tea you have, I would challenge you to think like that maybe you haven't tasted the real flavor of true tea yet.
Interesting. So I'm getting the dust. I'm getting the garbage basically off the conveyor belt is what you're telling me in the grocery store. If I go buy tea bags, first of all, the bags are glued together, so you're getting the glue and the adhesives or whatever, which you don't use. And I'm getting the what should be in the garbage can. All right, so that's a good education. You've got a very special offer of the iced tea starter kit today. How do people get it? What do they get? What's the offer?
Yeah, you can scan the QR code to view the product. It's got all the details on there, all the different flavors that you get and everything. And we wanted to make this accessible for everyone, especially people that either haven't tried our company yet or have tried our company before but maybe haven't gone the iced tea route with us yet. And so normally this kit would be $55, but for a limited time, we're going to make it just $29.95, and we're going to give you free shipping as well. So it's really a low barrier entry to have a new iced tea experience. And hopefully, like everyone, let us know what you think when you try it out. The reviews so far have been great. We just launched this a few weeks ago, and it's been well received.
Well, great. Mike Britton, a guy pursuing the best tea and not just the particles that fall through the conveyor belt. That just something about that just turns my stomach a little bit, Mike. I got to be honest with you. Where can they find it?
You can go to artilleryteaco.com. View all of our products on there. If you want to see this iced tea starter kit in particular, the QR code at the bottom of the screen will take you right to it.
Perfect. $29.95 and free shipping. Mike, keep doing what you're doing, my friend. I'm proud of you for having the American dream and having the guts to go make it happen, sir. Thank you as always.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Greatly appreciate it. All right. So Love Ice-T. Back to the socialist problem in Wisconsin. I mentioned it a moment ago with Ivy, and I wanted to dig a little bit deeper. The socialist candidate is Francesca Hong. She was never supposed to be in the race. But there are a bunch of people in the race, and Francesca Hong, like a lot of these socialists, got people pounding on doors and shaking hands and doing the work of a campaign. And so Democrats in Wisconsin tried to get around Lieutenant Governor Sarah Rodriguez. But she had a disastrous week last week. They found out her finances were in such disarray, she quit the race, right? And then Tony Evers, the governor, went out and asked a guy to get back in the race that had already gotten out. He's the Milwaukee County Executive, David Crowley. I mean, move over Maine. Here comes Wisconsin going for the gold of the most idiot group of politicians you could find anywhere in the country. And so Evers endorses Crowley in a last-ditch effort to stop the Hong Socialist Express. Tom Tiffany, the congressman, been on this show many times, friend of the program. He is sailing to the Republican nomination. Until recently, they cited it as a national model for Democrats. Until recently, Wisconsin was a national model for Democrats, with leaders and candidates successfully coordinating over multiple cycles and a long-term plan to undo years of Republican dominance in the state. But Wisconsin really is one of the most consequential swing states. One Democrat senator, one Republican senator. Governor's a Democrat. State legislature controlled by Republicans. But I think, you look, I talk about the threat of these communists, but I think this is a gift to Republicans in Wisconsin and maybe to the nation. This Francesca Hong, if she gets the nomination, Tom Tiffany becomes governor. Straightforward. I'll be right back. In a couple of minutes here, Jimmy Petronas, who represents Florida's 1st Congressional District, is going to join me here. We're talking about highway safety and these people that can't read or speak English getting on the highways. One of the most horrible crashes we've seen was that U-turn on a Florida interstate. Well, the driver pulls a U-turn with his 18-wheeler, and that minivan slammed into it, and I think 3 people died. Horrible stuff. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about the National Defense Authorization Act, the No Insider Trading Act, and the Save America Act, all coming up. By the way, the National Defense Authorization Act made it through the House yesterday, 216, 212. Usually this just sails through. But in a place where the Republicans and Democrats can't agree on anything, and the Democrats are being guided by socialist principles, you have problems. 6 Democrats did vote in favor of the bill. 7 Republicans voted against it. But anyhow, it raises service members' pay 5 to 7%. So good news for the soldiers and sailors out there. It authorizes $56 billion for aircraft development, including for next-generation fighter jets and Black Hawk helicopters. Authorizes $60 billion in funding for construction and support of 3 submarines and 2 destroyers as we try to up our game as China continues to build stuff as fast as possible. Pretty remarkable, actually. If you'd like to lose weight and feel good about yourself, I've got a program that I did in 2018, all right? Many of you struggle to lose weight. You lose it, you gain it back. And if I said it's not your fault, I'd be telling you the truth. It's not points or shakes or living at the gym. And if it was willpower, you'd be done already. What if I told you your metabolism is not broken? It's just not working right. It's turned off. You can find out more at gruberhealth.com. Get a free consultation right now and a very special offer, 25% off. Look, if you don't want the stab in the leg or wherever they do that with a GLP-1, this is the right solution. It's all natural. You'll eat real food. You don't even have to go to the gym. You just need to turn your metabolism back on. You need to do factory resets, if you will. Well, Missy and the crew over there are going to help you do that. I did this program in 2018. So glad I did. 25% off. Free consultation. gruberhealth.com. gruberhealth.com. Congressman Petronas coming up after this. All right, back to it now. Busy 24 hours in Washington. The Stop Insider Trading Act got out of the House. The National Defense Authorization Act got out of the House. A lot going on. Joining me is Jimmy Petronas. He's the congressman for Florida 1. Congressman, nice to see you today.
Hey, Steve. Great to be with you.
Always good to have you here, my friend. It's a busy time in Washington. the rise of the socialists and everything else going on. It's a crazy time in D.C. a little bit. But let's talk about this. The CDL fraud crackdown. Fraud is, I mean, when did everybody get dishonest, Jimmy? I mean, honestly, does anybody tell the truth anymore or pay their bills or do the right thing? I mean, I do. I'm guessing you do, but good Lord.
We have just allowed the inmates to run the shop in so many parts of our government, so many levels. I can tell you this, it doesn't happen in the state of Florida. We've got our act together, but there are these states, and I look at the craziness that's going on in Michigan and these unbelievable candidates that they're putting forward. They're going to destroy states that are already on the verge of just total ruin. But we've been, as we were talking a little bit in your pre-show, with the CDL craziness, we've got states that are having zero regard for just common understanding of traffic law. And you know what? There's fatalities because of it happening. The CDLs that are out there on the market, we've got drivers that are illiterate. They're foreign nationals. They're here illegally, in some cases, criminal history. But then we're allowing them to get behind these almost nearly 80,000-pound vehicles. And then ultimately loss of life is taking place because they simply can't read the road signs.
Yeah, Florida residents getting killed. You pull a U-turn on the interstate with an 18-wheeler, people are going to get killed. And they did in Florida. Right. The best state for cracking down right now, I got to be honest, Indiana's arresting them all over the place. Indiana's just arresting these drivers everywhere, and I hope you're doing the same thing in Florida.
Yeah, you've got to do exactly that. You've got to arrest them. But here's the deal. There's not a single interstate in the whole United States that U-turns are legal. So again, these are the challenges that we have got under the failed policies of the Biden administration, where we let millions of illegals come into our country. They're going to try to provide for their families. They're going to go to those states where the blue governors are having no regard for the illegal criminal activities taking place. And ultimately, they ended up becoming part of the fabric of the businesses. They end up getting driver's licenses through laws that fling their nose at the federal policies laws we uphold. And then
believe it or not, Jimmy, then they vote. Of course, everybody on the left made fun of Donald Trump last week. And then Mikey Sherrill, the governor of New Jersey, had to admit they had 6,600 non-residents, non-citizens on the voter rolls. Now they've updated the numbers, has the government, to 35,000 plus non-citizens on the voter rolls in New Jersey. These are the same places that gives an illegal alien a driver's license, automatically register them to vote, allow people to get CDLs they should not have. Now, I give great credit to Sean Duffy, the transportation secretary. He's cracking down on this hard. He's closing. These schools were self-certifying. Oh, yeah, they're good to go. Take the money. They're good to go.
Yeah.
It was insane, wasn't it?
These programs start off with good intentions, but you've got to manage them. Sean's leadership has been a breath of fresh air, but this is what you've got to do. I've always been very critical. Lawmakers will create a good policy, and then that lawmaker who was the champion for that policy goes and retires. And then these programs slowly but surely, different administrations take the different levels of seriousness. They start to get watered down. They start to really lose the whole purpose of why the law was created or the program was created in the first place.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about a couple other things going on. The House Stop Insider Trading Act got through yesterday. What do you make of this legislation? Apparently the Senate doesn't like it because they want more stuff in it, like restricting the owning and trading of individual stocks, not just for Congress and their families, but the president and vice president, too. What do you think happens?
Look, I think there'll be some type of version, hopefully, that the Senate will find applicable. We can't continue to allow insider trading to take place. Members of Congress come in, they're not millionaires, they leave, they're worth tens of millions of dollars. This is immoral, this is illegal. If they were in the private sector, if they were working at your television station, they'd be put in jail for insider trading. Congress members should be upheld to the exact same standard.
Agree with that. The National Defense Authorization Act. Usually this thing just sails right through. But it got jammed up this time around. It did make it through. What was the vote? 216-212.
Right.
Tell me about this.
Yeah, so look, it's the most critical package every single year that we've got to pass. the defense of our nation is what keeps a strong economy in place. It what allows free trade to take place. And when you get these knuckleheads, this is typically a bipartisan issue. But you got to just understand the Democrats. There's a condition. I don't know if you've heard about it. It's called Trump derangement syndrome. It is real, and I cannot get over even good policies, good issues. Our servicemen and women, those people are put in harm's way, and the Democrats still won't support it to the point where we had hundreds of Democrats vote against this. They vote against tax cuts. They vote against no tax on tips. They vote against no tax on overtime. They vote against no tax on Social Security. I mean, this is the Congress that's elected right now. I tell people all the time, there's elections happening all over the country next week and a couple weeks after. If you don't hold your electeds accountable, you get the government you deserve.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Florida redrew its congressional districts, and it could mean as many as 4 new Republican seats in Florida heading toward the midterms. And you couple that with Texas and Missouri and some other states, it's a plus 12 roughly for the Republicans. At least that's conceivable. And the rise of the socialists, I don't think, is helping the Democrats in a variety of places. Abdul El Sayed here in Michigan, if he becomes a Senate candidate for the Democrat Party, I think that hurts voter turnout for the Democrats, because a lot of Democrats are like, this is insane. Can't support it.
Well,
so how do you feel about the midterms? I mean, I realize on a generic ballot, Democrats are up, 5 or 7 points. But when you get down to the basics and all elections are local, it doesn't look that way to me, sir.
No, look, the moderate Democrats are concerned about this Mondami wing of the party arising, the AOC, the Bernie Sanders wing of the party rising, and you've seen incumbent Democrats who have a history of working together on things just like the NDAA that are getting eliminated in their primaries to this party. So, more power to the crazies. I hope the Democrats put as many Bernie Sanders on the ballot this come November as humanly possible. Those guys and gals, they scare the independents, they scare the moderate Democrats, and ultimately, hopefully, that gives us the 11, 12 seat majority that you were speaking to just a minute ago in the Republican Party in the House of Representatives.
But we should not take them lightly either. Yeah, they're goofballs or goofs, but they keep winning, and so it's a serious threat, as the president said yesterday in Marietta, Georgia. 20 seconds. Last word to you, Jimmy.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Look, I just keep on telling people, just because things are trending the way Republican, we cannot sit back and think that we can just mail it in. You've got to show up in person and vote this election. This is more important than the last election cycle, because if the Democrats succeed, they will impeach President Trump.
That's all they'll do. They don't have any policies. It's Trump derangement syndrome. I think you just mentioned that. Jimmy Petronas, Florida One. Always a pleasure, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Take care.
Thank you. There you have it from the great state of Florida, the free state of Florida, as they call it. We'll take a break and be right back on Daybreak.
If you're an older adult,
This may seem unusual to you, but when there's a big fire and a firefighter goes inside a building that's engulfed in flames, at that point, when they disappear into the smoke and flames, there is no reliable way to track them, at least not in practice, not in the field currently. You don't even know what floor they're on. My next guest knows this as well as anybody. He's the former commissioner of the Boston Fire Department, Commissioner Joe Finn. Joe, thank you for being here.
Steve, thanks for having me.
Greatly appreciated. A firefighter's mayday is one of the worst things you can hear when you're an incident commander. Mayday, mayday. The firefighter's in trouble, but you don't know where they are. You went through this back in 2014, didn't you?
I did, in a Boylston Street fire where we lost 2 firefighters.
Yeah. And so, look, we can track a package across the country and have it delivered to my front porch. We can track a vehicle from space. They know where my truck is. They can look at me with cameras inside my truck. I don't like it. Why are we at a point where firefighters are still in the dark, if you will?
Well, that's a good question, Steve. And I can tell you that it's probably the most anxiety-driving event on the fire ground when you hear those words, Mayday, Mayday. You know, a firefighter's trapped, and most firefighters, you know, for them to actually commit to that Mayday tells you that the situation is dire. And to be able to find them in a building is the holy grail of how we're going to save firefighters in structures that fires are out of control or the catastrophic event occurred, whether it's a backdraft, a flashover, or potential collapse. And currently we have no ability to track and find firefighters in buildings, in high-rise or subways.
All right, so there is technology out there, my understanding. And the Trump administration, and in fact, an executive order on GPS resilience. I mean, GPS. We've got this thing called Life 360. I can find, you know, anybody in my family who's hooked up to it on their phone. Is there not a way to put GPS or something of that level of sophistication onto each firefighter on the ground in a situation? And look, it might not be a big fire. It could be somebody treating somebody who has become violent. That happens. You need to know where people are. You need to know what they're facing. You need to know how to find them in case it's the firefighter or the first responder that ends up in a jam, right?
Yeah, correct. And GPS is a wonderful tool, but it cannot penetrate buildings and structures. It can't give you location, floor, east wing, east wing, west wing. It can't locate specifically where a firefighter or a civilian is trapped and lost. And, you know, the technology out there, you know, which is before we're hoping to get before the FCC, can do that. And it will save lives, not just firefighters and public safety personnel, but civilians as well.
Well, sure. If you can track the firefighter and he says, I need extra help here to get somebody out of the house, you'll know where he is or she is, and so you'll know where the potential victim is, right? It will advance the ability to rescue people in a variety of situations. Now, Brendan Carr is the chair of the FCC. What has he indicated about this technology? Can we move forward?
Well, it's before the FCC as we speak, and they're trying to move it forward to an NPRM and let the technicians and the engineers figure out. There's some questions about interference with other corporate entities that operate in those frequencies. But, you know, let the FCC, we need to get this in front of the FCC to verify its authenticity and making sure that this will do what we say it will do and save firefighters' lives.
So emergency beacons, those have been on the market for years as far as people that go, you know, into the mountains. But you talk about the difficulty is inside of these structures. And yet I know about this Life 360 app that we have. If my kid's at the mall, I can see him moving around the mall, so it can penetrate some structures. But I don't know about masonry. Maybe brick and mortar is harder to get through than wood. But we do have places that we can start the conversation, right, and move forward with technology to help people out.
Well, listen, Steve, honestly, you know, this has been a conversation that's over 40 years old. I mean, it'd be the holy grail in fire service technology and advancement. Next to, the SCBA being introduced as a breathing apparatus for firefighters in hostile environments. So this being able to track firefighters and give you precision location on where they are in a structure, especially if they're in a situation that's untenable, they're in a mayday situation, exact location is paramount because you waste time and resources chasing where you think people are or where they were last. This technology will pinpoint with accuracy where they are currently in the structure.
How many people do you think could be saved, real quick? How many lives?
Well, listen, as far as firefighters' lives, there's, on average, 100 firefighters are killed annually. I would say, and firefighters severely injured. Hundreds and thousands are injured annually. This technology, when, events go bad and you need, speed is of the essence, this technology will be able to give that incident commander the tools to actually, deploy a RIT team, which is called a rapid intervention team, into that rescue mode to recover, to retrieve the firefighter and get to him before something really, really bad happens.
Joe Finn, I appreciate you being here. It seems in this day and age we would have the technology to monitor the whereabouts of a firefighter in a tough situation. So hopefully Brendan Carr and the FCC and others will move this technology forward because, as you point out, 100 firefighters a year die. Maybe we can cut that number dramatically, sir. Thank you for being here.
Steve, thank you for having me, and hopefully Chairman Carr moves this forward and we get to the process and determine this technology is going to be life-saving.
Absolutely. All right, thank you, sir. We'll take a break and be back. When we do come back, sports with Brock, of course, on Daybreak. All right, let's check in on sports now with my good friend Brock Palmbush. There he is.
With a look at sports, I'm Brock Palmbush. There was a full schedule of games in Major League Baseball yesterday. American League winners included Tampa Bay, Detroit, and Houston. National League winners included Washington, Milwaukee, and the LA Dodgers. The Boston Red Sox extended their winning streak to 15 games with a 6-3 win over Baltimore in Game 1 of a doubleheader at Fenway Park, but lost Game 2 of the doubleheader 5-1 to have that winning streak halted. It was the last night of action for the WNBA before the league's All-Star break. There were 6 games played. Winners were New York, Washington, Indiana, Dallas, Minnesota, and Phoenix. The WNBA All-Star Game is Saturday night in Chicago's United Center. And Belgian Jasper Philipsen won yesterday's 17th stage of the Tour de France. Tadej Pogacar maintains a 4-minute, 32-second lead with just 4 stages remaining in this year's Tour. That's a look at sports. Back to you, Steve.
All right, Brock, thank you. Hey, Brock, the WNBA All-Star Game.
Yep, Saturday night in Chicago.
Is Caitlin Clark playing?
She's going to be there. She was going to be a part of the 3-point shooting contest, but she's out of that. She's a little bit hurt right now, but she's going to be there, and she's on the team. So I believe she's going to play.
Right, because they can say anything they want about her. They can trash talk her, run her down, this, that, everything else. Without Caitlin Clark, the WNBA loses a big chunk of its viewership. I mean, that's just the way it is, right?
Well, because of her, they're using charter airplanes now.
Wow. They don't have to fly coach.
Commercial, yeah.
Fascinating, yeah.
I'm old enough to remember when NBA teams and players had to fly commercial. It wasn't until the late 80s before they started doing that.
Good Lord, how old are you? Jeez. Can we get a carbon test on Brock, please?
I'll be 52 in December.
Carbon dating on Brock. Please.
Stop.
All right. Email me. Always want to hear from you. SteveGruber.com, the place to send me an email. I read them all, and many of you will attest that I respond to plenty of them, whether they're kind or unkind or somewhere in the middle. I'm always entertained by the emails, unless they're 44 pages long, at which point I get a little bored and fall face first into my soup. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll have more on Daybreak coming up.
America's awake, and we're just getting started. The headlines that matter, the stories they won't tell you, and the voices fighting to be heard. This is your country, your morning, your daybreak with Steve and Ivy Gruber. A new hour starts right now.
All right, welcome back to it as we kick off another hour here of the program. Glad to have you on board here at Daybreak. Always trying to get you the facts up front and first. Here's three big things this hour. Number one, Mayor Mamdani. Apparently all talk and all BS. He can't arrest Netanyahu. I'll have Netanyahu arrested if he comes to New York City. Yeah, I can't do that. Lighting up the internet. Number two, the Democrats, if you can't pack the Supreme Court, maybe you can try to term limit the people out and say that you can only be there 18 years. Therefore, most of you would have to leave now, at least the conservatives. And number three, I don't know what this hearing was about, but I was greatly entertained by it. The American Bar Association president was in front of a House committee yesterday. And the American Bar Association, of course, represents lawyers across this country, right? You have to pass the bar to be a lawyer, all that. And so the ABA president is there, and she's being questioned about DEI and inclusion and that sort of thing. Because the ABA has these position papers and memos, and its website and all these different places talk about DEI and all these different things. So Brandon Gill, who greatly entertains me, by the way, Congressman Brandon Gill of Texas, had a good time embarrassing the president of the American Bar Association. Here's one. This is just sport, political sport. Listen to this.
How many Supreme Court justices have we had in American history?
I could not tell you over the
It's about 116. Do you know of those 116, how many of them have been transgender?
I have no idea.
Do you think there might have been one?
I have no idea.
Is it fair to say that there have been no transgender Supreme Court justices in American history?
I honestly have no idea.
You don't know?
I have no idea.
You study the law, don't you?
We do not study the personal attributes of individual justices.
Is there a Supreme Court justice in American history that you think might have been transgender?
I have no idea.
You have no idea? Well, I think most people can assume that there haven't been any transgender Supreme Court justices. I hope that we can agree at least on that basis. Would that be okay to proceed under that assumption? Okay.
So the point that he's making is that the ABA says that the Supreme Court should be reflective of the country at large. The Supreme Court should be reflective of the people in America. That's why I say, well, how many transgender justices are there? How many have there ever been out of 116? Of course, the answer is 0. Because it's 0. And then he just kept digging at the absurdity of DEI. He was having a good... He does this in a lot of hearings, and I appreciate the homework that he does, or his staff, the work they do. And he delivers it so dry that it makes me laugh. Listen.
Do you think that it's a problem that the transgender community has never had representation on the U.S. Supreme Court?
The ABA believes in diversity, equity, and inclusion as...
And I'm asking you about diversity, equity, and inclusion. I'm asking you about inclusion of the transgender community.
We believe that people ought to bring their entire self to whatever role they're serving.
You're refusing to answer my question. Do you think that it's important that we have a transgender Supreme Court justice?
I believe that it's
in order to include that community.
I believe that it is always important, the ABA believes that it is always important to support and encourage diversity.
So we should
and
have a
inclusion.
transgender Supreme Court justice?
Diversity has many forms, and we believe that...
Do you think that you're not answering in a straightforward way? Do you think that's because of your own implicit bias?
I believe that I'm trying to explain that the ABA does not set quotas and does not believe that
Do you have
need
implicit transphobia?
The ABA believes that diversity in all of its forms is important and helps the profession more globally.
Okay.
Do you have transphobia? Come on. made me chuckle. Michelle Benke is her name, by the way.
Is the ABA a government?
No, it's a private association of lawyers, anyhow. And so then Jim Jordan from Ohio questions Michelle Benke on whether or not the ABA takes political positions. They claim that they're nonpartisan, which is a laugh in itself. But here's Jim Jordan. Listen.
The American Bar Association opposes any federal, state, local, territorial, tribal regulation or policy that prohibits transgender students from participating in athletics in accordance with their gender identity. Sounds like you're for men and women's sports to me.
Our House of Delegates adopted a resolution based on the discussion and debate of our 600-member board or House of Delegates.
I've never heard of a nonpartisan organization that's for unrestricted abortion, no detention for people who break our immigration law, and who want men and women's sports. I've never heard of a nonpartisan organization adopt those positions. You still say you're nonpartisan?
I do, sir.
Wow, that's amazing. Nonpartisan and won't tell us who you want to win the war, our ally or a terrorist organization. Mr. Smith.
And it goes on from there. No restrictions on abortion, men and women's sports. Do not prosecute those that come here illegally. These are the ABA's positions, stated positions on their website, position papers, and they claim to be nonpartisan. That's the real joke in all of this. Quite clearly, they are openly partisan. By the way, I did just one other thing was kind of fun yesterday that I saw. Donald Trump went to Marietta, Georgia for a rally to talk about America and the future and denigrating communism and so forth, which he should do every day. All Americans should. But he came out with his opening remark in Georgia, and in case you missed it, I wanted to share it with you here. Listen.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. It's a special place, and I am here to announce my candidacy. I'm only kidding. I'm only boy, I tell you, what a group. We have thousands of people outside.
Yeah. Heads exploding. Poof. I'm here to announce my candidacy. I'm just kidding. You know, the Democrat, he's going to run for a third term. He's going to declare martial law. He's going to be a dictator. Would you take your medicine? Good Lord. Anyhow, this part of the program is brought to you by my good friends at Ghost Bed, America's made sleeping system. It's the best. A mattress and box spring company with so many patents it's hard to keep up with. Cooling technology, anti-snoring technology now.
RV technology.
RV technology for your RVs here in the camping season of summer, all of it. The best bed you're ever going to. It's the best bed I've ever owned. Ivy and I have had it for months. You can get one for yourself at ghostbed.com, and right now you can get free sheets, a free pillow, and 10% off. Ghostbed.com, and you can try it for 101 nights. If you don't love it, they'll come pick it up at your house, no questions asked. I think you're going to love it, but if you don't, they'll pick it up. Ghostbed.com. Free sheets, free pillow, 101 nights, and 10% off. Can't beat that with a stick. Well, I'm just sitting here looking at it's night 12 of the incredible pounding of Iran. I mean, I don't know how this country can continue to take this, except that the IRGC is decentralized, 31 provinces, as I recall. And back about 2007, the IRGC, the Iranian Guard, they set up camp in all 31 provinces so they couldn't be easily eradicated, because they knew then that they were getting to a point where they might be facing issues, right? But the new video from CENTCOM that just dropped just shows more and more vehicles being obliterated, more ships being obliterated, small ships. I mean, the Iranian Navy is Boston whalers with RPGs, but that's what they've got left, and they continue to try. And it looks to me like the pounding, but they're not going to give up. It's a holy war for them, right? It's a holy war, and they don't seem to be in any position to get. They're just not going to stop. But here's the report. Trump reportedly planning to widen the military conflict in Iran after surge in forces assets. The U.S. is moving forces, weapons, and medics to the Middle East to give President Donald Trump broader military options, according to the Wall Street Journal. The surge in forces and assets comes as Trump considers widening the conflict. Special operations forces have deployed to the region from their U.S. bases. That according to flight tracking data and U.S. officials. Squadron of jet fighters have also been staged in the Middle East. Bomber aircraft at bases in the U.S. and U.K. are on high alert to ramp up operations and go. So, is the war going to get wider? Maybe. And how do you feel about that? How do you feel about that? Are you in support of a wider operation in the Middle East to end the threat of Iran once and for all? Meanwhile, Florida stock is rising. Now the world's 14th largest economy, as blue states continue in a death spiral. The state grew GDP by 6.5% over the past year. It's just behind South Korea, and it's pushed toward the top 10. Florida's pulling in capital, talent, corporations at a historic clip. Florida's no longer just competing with rival states. It's competing with global economies. The Florida Chamber of Commerce shows the state's $1.8 trillion economy. $1.8 trillion economy is Florida. Climbed to number 14 globally. The best way to help America move forward is to have Florida lead the country forward when it comes to free enterprise and freedom, said the Florida Chamber President and CEO Mark Wilson. If we would follow Florida's lead, everyone wins. Last week, the Chamber announced Florida had climbed to number 14, surpassing Australia and Mexico. Florida has a bigger economy than Australia or Mexico. Think about that. Mexico has, 120 million people? Florida has 25 million people. Free enterprise works. Socialism fails. The cartels are destroying Mexico, obviously. It would need roughly 2% additional growth to surpass South Korea and 21% more growth to overtake Canada. Florida's going to have a bigger economy than all of Canada and all their socialist, globalist fever dreams. You look at New York, Illinois, New Jersey, Minnesota, California, they keep increasing taxes, increasing government size, and decreasing the size of their economy, forcing people are fleeing. So now the people moving into Florida is only about 500 or 600 a day. But the wealth migration is $4 million an hour coming into Florida. $4 million an hour. Yeah. So, you look at New York, they lose population, they lose wealth. You bring in a socialist mayor of New York City who threatens to tax the wealthy, the successful, and they just leave. And they go to Miami or West Palm or wherever. They just say, you know what, I've had enough, I'm out of here. And away they go. And they do get out of there. And then Florida gets the wealth. Number 14, I think that's remarkable, a remarkable achievement, to be honest with you. I do. So congratulations to the free state of Florida. And how could Ron DeSantis not be in the conversation? I mean, I realize J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, those are your two guys. But after everything Ron DeSantis has done in Florida and done so well, how can he not be in the conversation for 2028? He's not. He's not going to be. Because that field is set right now. And I mean, things subject to change, of course. But that field is set for now. And but you have to look at, Florida's been such a success. Their educational system, they just got rid of property taxes. Their income taxes are low. Zero's the number you're looking for. Well, I sit here in Michigan where they raised income taxes last year, only state a year before maybe, whichever it was. But fact of the matter is that they raised income tax here when nobody else was doing it. Michigan's raising income tax. Makes no sense. And then Florida just thrives. Just thrives. The states were put together so you could see best practices. Best practices. You could see what works and what doesn't. You could compare and contrast, and then your state could follow suit with those things that really, really work and avoid things that do not. I guess that lesson was lost in too many places. Good job, Florida. I'll take a break and be back on Daybreak. All right, just scouring all the news headlines. The Trump administration is shredding Ocasio-Cortez's military claim of a military merger, ripping that apart. We've already told you about a big surge. Did you see this video? Anthony, did you see the video of the bear up on the power pole?
No.
Oh, good Lord. There's a full-size black bear at the top of a power line. Yeah, it's a crazy video. Yeah, it was in New Mexico. Unfortunately, the bear died. It got electrocuted up there. The bear climbed to the top of the pole, and, well, as these things go, they didn't turn the power off to the line, and, well, the bear didn't get down.
Is this what you're talking? Is it this?
I don't see it. Yeah, that's it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah. Crazy, right? Bear climbed up there. Bear, unfortunately, did not have a happy ending. And I was listening to the 911 calls. People are calling in. Are you calling about the bear on highway, whatever it was? Yeah. Well, not sure why the bear climbed the pole, but the bear, they said, well, they couldn't tranquilize it because the bear could get hurt in the fall. Well, the bear got smoked. Gladstone, New Mexico, 170 miles east of Santa Fe. The Department of the Interior of New Mexico Wildlife did not immediately respond. The footage verified by Storyful also includes an audio from a 911 caller. Anyhow, it's just the things I see in the news, my friends. Bears on top of power pools. That's not energy dominance. That's a scary place to be. And the bear, obviously, distressed. I don't know why a bear would climb up there, but there it is. That's what happened. All right, still to come today. State Representative Donnie Steele represents Michigan 54. Transportation investments in the state budget. Are we going to fix the damn roads? I mean, that's what the governor promised 8 years ago. How are the roads doing around your house? Because mine, still not filling free. I'll take a break and be right back with Donnie Steele. All right, jumping back into it now. Transportation investments in Michigan. Look, Michigan has slid backwards in just about any metric you can look at over the last 8 years, with Democrats basically being in charge of most of everything for the last 8 years. Right to work left. We slid in education. What are we, 44th now, 45th? We've slid into the bottom tier there. We're sliding everywhere. And I remember quite clearly, as does everybody, it's fix the damn roads was the battle cry of Gretchen Whitmer. Well, I don't know how the roads have improved in your area. Do I see some improvement? I do. But overall, the roads are abysmal in Michigan compared to places elsewhere in the country. Joining me, State Representative Donnie Steele. She represents Michigan's 54th House District. Donnie, nice to see you today.
Oh, thank you, Steve. Thanks for having me today.
All right, so you've secured some transportation investment in the state budget. The state budget that's incredibly bloated, I might add. But here's where we are. We spend $30 billion more than Pennsylvania or North Carolina or Georgia, but we still don't get, and our state not in the shape those states are. But tell me about the investments before I complain about how much we spend.
Well, the one good thing is that our budget is $800 million less than last year. However, we were still able to fund an additional $2 billion for the roads. So the budget is close to $8 billion for the roads, for the transportation budget for the last 2 years. So since the Republicans have taken control of the House, we invested money, substantial money into the roads for the last two budget seasons without increasing the cap on the whole budget. So I think that's a win for only having one leg of the stool, and being the transportation chair, I'm pretty proud of that.
Yeah, it's pretty good success. We just saw the Gordie Howe Bridge open. What a strange series of conversation. Apparently, Canada is not going to join us for the official opening of the bridge. They're going to stomp their feet and hold their breath, apparently, because of tariffs from Donald Trump. I guess the globalist Mark Carney is not happy that America is doing its own thing and running the American system. What are your thoughts?
Well, I had a special ticket to go to the ribbon cutting for the second time.
Yeah.
And for the second time, it was canceled because they are kicking their feet and not going to play baseball. So I think it's so immature. And not only did they burn our eyes for the last week, they kicked dirt at us and said they're not going to play in the sandbox.
And I say, you know what? Good luck with that, Canada. But Canada's in a bad place. I mean, honestly, we're surrounded by Canada here in Michigan. But, you know, you look at their economy's not in great shape. They're importing people. They're going to bring in 75,000 of these EVs from China, which thankfully President Trump said no. Otherwise, he would have decimated the auto industry here in Michigan, right? I mean, that would destroy, because the cars they build in China are dirt cheap, right? I mean, they don't have the labor cost.
They're subsidized as well.
Yeah.
The government, this CCP subsidizes the cars. And it's intentional to be able to obliterate our automotive industry, which is still our number one industry for the state of Michigan. So as many people get mad that we're not getting along with Canadians, I mean...
I get along with Canadians. It's Mark Carney and his globalist cabal that I don't care for. Right?
Agreed.
I mean,
Yes.
Canadians are fine.
His name, Carney, it's like carnage.
I know it's more like a carny rat. You know, he's a side street barker. He is, and he's anyhow. So ports, airports, freight networks, all of these things, Donnie, are important. What's most critical to you in your district? What's most critical when you look at infrastructure needs in the state?
Well, you know, as I see the state, and I've been there, I'm on my fourth year, we need to retract, restructure, reform, and reduce. Those are my R's. And I look at the way that we do our funding for our budget, which is Public Act 51. I mean, it actually funds 81 road commissions, 513 villages and cities, and MDOT, plus the railroads, the ports, the marinas, and the airports. And I think it's too many administrative infrastructure that it's difficult for that last dollar to get to your neighborhood roads that are actually maintained by the county. So the whole program of these $2 billion was to fix the neighborhood roads. And I'm afraid that it's not going to filter all the way down to your neighborhood road, which you have to press onto your road commissions to make sure that they pay attention. Otherwise, those dollars aren't going to be spent from driveways to highways.
Yeah, and that's a concern. Let me ask you about something else while I've got you here. Because we spend all this money. We spend $30 billion more than Pennsylvania. It's a state bigger than we are. North Carolina and Georgia are similar size, and we're about $30 billion more on our annual budget than those two states. Georgia's booming. North Carolina's booming. In Michigan, I don't mean to be negative, but by comparison, we're imploding. I mean, just to be fair. One of the ways that I think we could save a tremendous amount of money, and I don't see anybody having the political courage to do it, is to say, look, why don't we just have 83 school districts? Florida has 67 school districts. So you don't have duplication of superintendents and food service and snow plowing and whatever. Streamline and save a tremendous amount of money and put that money into a crazy place called education. Educate the students. Why can't we do that in Michigan? Florida does a fine job. Michigan continues to fall lower and lower and lower on the ladder for third grade reading proficiency, math proficiency, science proficiency. We spend all this money for what?
I couldn't agree more. 829 school districts is what I believe that the state of Michigan has. I'm in Oakland County, so in Oakland County we have 28 school districts, and you have an ISD, which is a county school district. And on top of it, in Oakland County, they're asking for a 1.5 increase millage across the county, and some townships are donor townships versus other. So it's on top of the 6 mills, top of our school debt, top of the sinking fund. They want to add a 1.5 countywide millage. This is my message. I'm a no vote. Vote no on that millage because they don't even know where the funding's going to go to. They don't have it set up yet. And I think until we see some consolidation and something to give back from their side, why should we give more money? That's been, I was a tax
roughly
collector.
900 school districts. The number I've got from a Google search is 891, but whatever it is, close enough. We should have 83. I mean, you would save so much money that we could put into education, and you wouldn't have to look at those millage increases. And my answer is same as yours. If it means one more dime in taxes, the answer is no. Donnie, nice to see you. Always a good conversation. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Steve. You should run for governor.
It's not too late. Well, maybe it is too late. Maybe next time.
Next time.
Maybe next time. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Donnie Steele from Michigan 54. What do you think? Governor? I don't know.
I'll vote for you.
Well, there. I'm up. I'm +1. Yeah. I think I got Donnie's vote, too. So +2. Yeah. Ivy's still undecided. She'll be back after this. All right, back to it now as we close the show out with the best part of the show, as it is every day. Ivy back in play. Ivy, good morning again.
Good morning, Steve.
Busy morning as always, I'm sure.
Like a chicken with my head cut off.
Yeah, running around.
That's typical, though.
It is. A lot going on,
yeah.
even in the summer. Busier during the school
yes,
year.
No.
You don't think so?
Oh, no. Definitely busier in the summer.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
I mean, it's busy no matter what. I think that's, in society today, I think we are so busy, we forget to stop and smell the roses. We forget to stop and spend time with our family and the people that we love in our lives, our friends.
I'm working on that.
And it's so important just to put devices down, spend some time, and just
Be around
enjoy
people?
Yeah, so good. So yesterday we were talking about, Steve, how in the United States it seems like we outsource everything.
Too much.
Our pharmaceuticals, our seafood. What did I say yesterday?
90% comes in.
90%, is coming in from overseas
with
conditions that we're not that familiar with. Are they being grown? Are fisheries there being grown in good conditions? Like shrimp and oysters,
right,
or fish, things like that.
What did we hear yesterday? They're growing oysters in a ditch somewhere in Vietnam and selling them here.
And then they inject them with all sorts of
God only knows what.
Antibiotics and whatnot.
Growth hormones, probably.
Oh,
so you have
a
steroid oyster.
Steroid.
Whatever. Right?
But anyhow, and the list goes on and on and on. Yeah. And I find this interesting because going through COVID, I think we all realized that this was a major problem because we had all of these shortages.
The supply chain issues.
And so it came to our awareness that, wow, we have a big problem here in America. And if everything shut down and nothing was able to get in or out of other countries, could we actually sustain ourselves here in America? And if not,
I don't think so.
If not, that is a major national security issue.
That is a national security issue.
So
go ahead.
I want to have you listen here to Secretary Brooke Rollins, because she is having a conversation with Gillibrand, and I think it's something that we really need to talk about in terms of solar farms and taking over solar fields. They're not really farms, taking over our farmland. So listen to this.
That is not true, Senator. And let me tell you what New York is stressed out about is the fact that your state is taking prime farmland and turning it into solar farms. That is absolutely inexcusable. I have visited the New York farmers two times in upstate New York. Has expired.
Yeah.
So
I saw that comment yesterday. Yeah, Gillibrand trying to defend all this green energy nonsense. Same thing that I talk about here, Ivy, which is why are we putting solar panels in farm fields? We've got all of these places that have already been developed, closed factories, paved pavement everywhere, whether it's Detroit or Grand Rapids or Kalamazoo, wherever, and all over the country too. Yeah. You've got business parks. You've got factories that are closed. Put your solar panels there. Put your data centers there.
That's right.
Don't knock down the fields and the forest to build this stuff. You've got plenty of space that's already been developed. That's already been zoned.
Yeah, empty, commercial real estate that hasn't been used for years and years that are just sitting there. Why can't you utilize that area?
You can. That's the point. That's common sense. They don't want to hear it.
Exactly. But, I actually looked this up. One of the things is not only in terms of solar farms, but approximately 550 to 600,000 acres of farmland are occupied by solar farms currently.
How many?
550 to 600,000 acres.
Now
it's a very small percentage in terms of all of the farmland in America.
But that's ridiculous.
But it's still a lot. And not only that, but it is estimated that it's going to increase. So it's going to increase 1 acre out of every 1,500 to 1,600 acres of farmland will be occupied by solar fields. And what people don't understand is that once you put these solar fields in, these solar panels in, it completely pollutes the earth all around it. And so that food is near and dear to my heart. I am a crazy nutritionist. I know that food can heal the body. And through that, I just think that this is a fool's errand to continue to take up our precious farmland and put things like solar farms on it. It does actually make me think that hopefully people can get back to growing their own food. But for me, it is a national security issue, and it raises my eyebrows. But and especially too, I want to
agree.
go on to also the foreign entities owning farmland.
Don't like that either.
And as of December 31, 2024, 46 million acres.
How much?
46 million acres of U.S. agricultural land is owned by other
You know, I was talking to a
countries.
farmer, I'm trying to remember when this was recently, within the last year or two, and said that one of the pieces of ground that they turn, a couple of 100 acres, is owned by a family in Belgium, but it's been owned by this family in Belgium for like 60 years, 70 years.
Mm-hmm.
So there is foreign ownership of American ground, but we should not be selling foreign ownership to people that are obviously hostile to us. The CCP, Russia, Iran, North Korea. I'm sorry, if you're from those countries,
China.
the CCP, you can't buy stuff here. You can't buy land here. Right?
Yeah, that seems to be common sense to
Seems
me,
to
but
be.
I'm not exactly sure why we would allow such a thing. And I think that the Trump administration is trying to roll some of that back. But Steve, I want to move on to something kind of funny. I think that maybe I'll have a new hobby.
All right.
So in 2026, there's women have taken the Lumberjack World Championship. 3 women world records have fallen at
Look,
this
I
year's
get it.
Lumberjack World Championships in Hayward, Wisconsin.
Look, I get it. You like wearing tool belts. I get it. I do. Now you want a chainsaw. I get it.
Chainsaw, chopping wood, sawing. Can you see me doing it, Steve?
Actually, yes. I
Log
can.
rolling.
Now that I'm not so sure about. All right. Lumberjack-ass championships, whatever they call lumberjack. Ivy, love you. That's crazy.
Love you too.
All right. Final thoughts after this. All right, gas prices continue to rise. No surprise there. $4.09 the national average now. Cheapest gas in America continues to be Indiana. They're at $3.53, but they're a long way from the $3.12 they were here a short while ago. And that's because the Red Sea now in a challenge. The gas price a month ago was $3.92. It's now $4.09. A week ago it was $3.94. Again, $4.09 now. So it's up dramatically, and it's going to continue to go higher. Though this number does not compare well with where we were during the Biden administration, it means that the reserves have been drawn down dramatically. The reserves have been drawn down dramatically around the country and around the world. And because of that, there's pressure on the future markets. But as we know, the oil producers don't set the price of oil. People in London do, which is part of the problem. The people in London control the price of Brent crude. They set the price. They don't own any oil. They set the price. And that's part of what Susan Kokinda is going to talk about on the Monday edition of Forgotten America. Susan Kokinda is a fascinating person to talk to. You can find it on YouTube. There's the screen, the QR code. It drops. New episodes drop at 9 a.m. on Monday. We've got one more after this, and that'll be the end of the first season. I believe we have 24 episodes in the first season. Kyle Rittenhouse, Dr. Robert Redfield, a whole host of incredibly interesting people, including Susan Kokinda, who will be up on Monday morning. It's a conversation about just over an hour. We explore all sorts of topics with her. You don't want to miss it. You don't want to miss any of them, in fact. You subscribe for free with that QR code right there. Subscribe for free. And you can become a follower. Slap the like button, of course. Tell your friends. Don't forget, tomorrow's Free Speech Free for All Friday here in the program. We'll be taking your calls from all over the country. Looking forward to it. Fight the good fight. Keep the faith. God bless America. I'm Steve Gerber. This is Daybreak. And remember, it takes you to save America.